Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new edition of GameTales, the show where we talk about the various things related to video games, and today's subject is that of video game adaptations into the cinema space, into movies. And again, I'm joined by Stefan from the channel Stefan Nonsense. Hi Stefan.
That sounds better each time you say it, my man. Good morning, afternoon, evening, Unicom, and I hope all of our listeners are doing well and have had a pretty decent week.
Last week I was on vacation. I had actual vacation away from computers and people. It was nice. I saw some pelicans.
Wasn't that weird? You just went back in time basically by around 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
No smartphone?
Oh yeah, I did have my phone, but I didn't I was on a boat, so I didn't take it out of my pocket because if it fell...
You were on a boat?
Yeah.
On a boat?
Yeah. On a mother flipping boat.
Was the vacation on a boat, or was the boat just like part of the vacation?
It was part of it because you can't really sort of go through the Danube Delta on foot because there's mostly water in the way.
You slept on land?
Yeah.
Well, good. That sounds like you had a good week.
Yeah, it was. And now I'm back to work.
Yes, talking and writing about what is it? Video cards? Was the crazy latest news?
The NVIDIA RTX thing. Ray tracing in video games looks really nice, but the price they have, especially the foundry editions of the cards, are just ridiculous. Like $1,200 for a video card. God, no.
I'm just thinking of the numerous incompatibilities that will undoubtedly follow.
Yeah, because they just three video cards that have ray tracing support right now. Nobody's gonna use it. It's gonna be worse than what Mantle was. Mantle at least evolved into Vulkan. But unless ray tracing gets implemented by somebody else as a standard that everybody can use in their hardware, it's gonna die.
Ah well, let's. How about we do a bit of our own time travel? But this time we'll be going through the live action. We have to mention that we'll be talking about the generally theatrically released, or at least on video, live action films. So we won't be talking about TV shows
and no web episodes, apart from one that did become a movie.
Also, no animation. So yeah, because otherwise, there's a bunch of Pokemon stuff that.
And Final Fantasy VII Advent Children was awesome.
I don't think neither of us watched that many Pokemon movies.
Nope.
Although I have seen
Digimon was better.
I've seen one of them. Holy shit! Just get ready for hate comments on that one.
No, seriously, Digimon is a better show. It has an actual story with an actual end, with actual character arcs. I mean, the main characters grew up. They got old. They're not 10 for 50 years.
Well, that just goes into that theory that
Ash is dead,
or at least he's So this was I gotta take lead for a bit. The episode was inspired by a very I don't think it's a recent episode. No, it's not. I just recently saw a video from a super interesting YouTube channel called Gaming Historian. The guy has over 465,000 subscribers, so he doesn't need a plug. But he was the inspiration when I saw a video about the history of the Super Mario Brothers game movie. So his name being Gaming Historian, he just goes through the history of things. And since Super Mario Brothers, the movie was actually, as far as we know, or as far as we are aware, the first ever theatrical live action video game adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me the idea to to have a little chat about this, because video game movies are their own sort of really downtrodden subcategory of movies.
Just looking at the Metacritic and the Rotten Tomatoes score that's on the Wikipedia page, they're not high. Barely over 50. Most of them are under 10.
Yeah. And I think we're going to have a nice discussion talking that is. But we have to, first of all, let's start with whether or not, how much or how little did you actually enjoy Super Mario Brothers?
I enjoyed it quite a lot. Like, me and my brother, just had fun with it. We quoted it for years, I guess, with "Prepare to be fungus" and stuff like that. It was fun for us. Like, we had not played Super Mario Bros. Up until then, so we only had the context of hearing about the game and then seeing the movie. Also, the music was quite nice, like "Do the Dinosaur."
Yeah, I mean, we're in pretty much the same boat in that one. Granted, we have to keep in mind we were relatively young when being the first video game adaptation we get to see on the cinema screen. Well, in our case, most likely the TV screen. It was quite special.
You are cutting up a bit in the audio again, so I think we should switch to local recording again.
I will be doing that shortly. Give me a sec.
Okay.
You take it away. Take it away, Ern.
Super Mario Bros., if you don't know, has a horrible record when it comes to its production. People were miserable when they were making it. The main cast, John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins, was it?
Yep.
They were drunk pretty much nonstop because otherwise they would just not want to work on this disaster.
Give me a second.
Nobody liked it. Everybody hated the movie. And it got made. Somehow.
Starting recording now.
Okie dokie.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. And gals, hopefully. Maybe we have some female listeners. You never know.
You can probably check the demographics. YouTube is generally a more male-driven medium for some reason.
That'll be an interesting thing to ask Raul about. So yeah, you get to see a lot of the behind-the-scenes things that happened in that gaming historian video. But yeah, what Unicum says, that thing that they would do shots between takes, that has become something of it has become a thing of legend, basically. And I was kind of, I always thought that we'd eventually see a sequel, because at the end, there's that sequel bait thing.
Yeah.
Which actually was kind of interesting, to be honest.
Was she holding a proton pack at the end? Because it sort of looked like a Ghostbusters thing.
I don't know. I remember she was wearing. I remember she was wielding like a gun. I don't know if she had something on her back. But yeah, Super Mario Brothers was the pioneer, let's call it,
of sucking,
and of video game adaptations. And so that was released in 1993.
Yeah.
So it's been what, 25?
25 years.
So it's been 25 years of averagely mediocre or shitty video game adaptations.
Yep.
So, what do you think is the crux of the problem when it comes to translating video games to the silver screen?
Well, for movies that came out like back then, there was the constant interference from the holder of the rights to that property. They always wanted them to showcase this character this way or shove this character in there because we're going to add him in the next game. And the script basically became a hodgepodge of nothing that made sense, and they just threw everything they could at the screen. That's one problem. The other one is that, well, video games are a different medium. They're interactive. That's their main idea, and that interaction is the major part of the video game. Because otherwise, what's the story of Super Mario Bros? It's Mario gets the princess and then jumps for 5 hours. You can't translate that into a video game. You need dialogue. You need into a movie. You need dialogue.
And commits many types of genocide.
Oh, the poor turtles.
And takes drugs.
Yeah. That's not easy to translate into the form of a movie. I mean, even the cartoon sort of took liberties with the I'd say lore of Super Mario Bros. So they went like from the get-go. They tried to make a gritty reboot of Mario. I mean, it's realistic. It starts in New York. Everything looks real. The dinosaurs look real-ish. It's got guns.
Well, we don't have to limit the discussion just in as far as the Super Mario Brothers is concerned. I'm just talking about the genre in general.
Oh, yeah, I think those things are still valid, especially with what we're going to talk about later on with the interference from the holders of the rights.
Sure.
It's also that they were made, a lot of them were made primarily as cash-ins on the property. Nobody actually cared, for the most part, about what they were doing, about them actually making a good product. They just wanted to make a commercial, which is what basically Ubisoft has been doing with its movie adaptations.
And whoa, are those successful?
Yeah. And they, remember that Prince of Persia movie that existed?
I've never watched it because I just didn't. So they cast Jake Gyllenhaal, whitest of the whites, as a Middle Eastern character.
Thing is, there was an actual prince from Persia who was an actor who wanted to star in the role. Like an actual bona fide prince, member of the royal family, who wanted to star in the role.
And I never played any of the Prince games after the first one. Actually, after the original.
We didn't play Sense of Time?
I never got into the Dagger of Time things.
Sense of Time is superb. Like, it's magnificent in terms of mood and story and style. Gets repetitive with the jumping, but yeah.
Well, that's a platformer for you.
Yeah. It's not that the movie was bad. It's just I remember the ostrich racing with Peter Molina, the Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
He had ostrich races, and that's pretty much it. It's just so... It doesn't stand out at all. Same thing with the Assassin's Creed movie. You'll remember nothing out of it. You will fall asleep 5 minutes in, wake up at the end, miss nothing.
I think that's what happened to me when I tried to play the first one.
Yeah, that's kind of the same. Maybe it was on purpose. Maybe they're trying to emulate the fact that the first game was dreadfully boring and repetitive.
They maybe that's how they're gonna when you fall asleep in the cinema, that's when they jack you into that whatever
the animus,
hell. Okay, their Matrix type thing, which is totally a ripoff of the Matrix.
Oh my god, I think I may be in the animus right now. I think Ubisoft may be monitoring this call.
Why?
It's possible. I mean, that interference we had, it's gone now. So I think they checked in there, and now they're just listening in.
And now they're checking off. Oh boy. I agree with you in most of what you said, but I do think that I actually have two versions. So one of the things is that at least in the 90s, technology wasn't there. The technology wasn't there yet to, properly illustrate on screen the crazy, wonderful shit we've been dealing with in computer games for a while now.
Yeah, in terms of CGI, you couldn't do a lot, but you did have practical effects, which, let's face it, were quite good back then.
Oh, yeah, they were. Well, technically speaking, as far as I'm concerned, practical effects kind of reached their apex with The Thing. the practical effects in the thing are wondrous. But the problem with those is that they are very expensive, and they are also very time consuming. Granted, at a certain point CG was more so, but nowadays people will CG in basically everything because it's become basically like a whatchamacallit, like
the default
assembly line sort of built work stuff.
Yeah, but that hasn't really helped, has it? I mean, we had the Warcraft movie, which was primarily CGI.
I'm actually Warcraft I haven't watched just because I never got around to watch it, and I gotta say what I saw of the trailers looked nice, and at least it sounded nice.
Here's the thing, the paradoxical aspect of the movie is that the CGI stuff is actually the good part.
Oh yeah, and the human stuff sucks.
The human stuff, oh my god, they shouldn't have had humans at all. Like the main character, Lothar, is played by that guy from the Vikings TV show. He cannot carry the movie. Like, he cannot.
Well, that's always a problem. I don't know. I haven't watched it. But I will watch it as soon as I get around to it. I guess as soon as it's back on Netflix.
You will have something to enjoy in them. Like, there is the fight between Durotar, which is I think that was Durotar. What's his name? I forgot the name of the work that leads the horde in Thrall. Yeah, that's it.
Thrall. Yes.
Thrall's dad fights Gul'dan. That is the best scene in the movie. That is, if the movie was more about that, it would have been golden.
Yeah, I am a big fan of the Warcraft universe, so having not seen it yet, I mean, whenever I watch the trailers, I would really like all of the CG stuff, and I kind of thought, looking at the humans, that their costumes looked weird.
Well, the costumes do look kind of accurate to the universe with the exaggerated pauldrons. I love huge pauldrons. That's fine. No. There's a difference between, or at least I make a difference between when I see, especially in fantasy realm. This is very relevant to fantasy movies. There's a difference between me noticing that they're wearing a costume and their clothes actually blending into the environment and making sense. Case in point, Game of Thrones. I don't see any of those as costumes. Whereas in Warcraft, they kind of stand out.
Yeah, do you understand what I'm saying now?
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
Because they literally look like costumes. They look like something you put on for Halloween. They don't look even cosplay level, because I've seen, and there's so many incredibly skilled cosplayers out there who build their shit, and it literally looks like it just came out of the game, only it's been existing for a while. And what I saw in those trailers, they look like costumes, which isn't to say they didn't look good, but they look like costumes. So possibly that might have been one of the things that kind of kept me at bay from watching Warcraft.
Mm-hmm. If we're gonna go back in time a bit, I was looking at this list and noticed that the second adaptation of a video game was Double Dragon.
Yeah, that's a really little known one, actually, because if you'll see that the box office revenue is only $2.3 million.
I saw this on ProSieben, which is a German television channel that I think we still get in Romania, and I understood most of it because back then I could sort of understand German, and the movie was very underwhelming because I had seen Double Dragon played, and nobody was kicking each other in the teeth, like with the knees and stuff. It was really underwhelming. But it did have that guy that turned into a shadow, which was cool. And I was really young back then, and that was cool.
Yeah, I saw it as well. I mean, for something, we saw it on TV for a movie you catch on random public TV, let's call it, as in not VOD or anything like that. It was a decent way of spending, like, I don't know, an hour and a bit, or however long it lasted.
Yeah, it did have the one thing that did also look nice was the Bobo. Like, they actually made him look like sort of a giant mutant with a giant neck and giant ears.
But it was, yeah, very, very underwhelming. Actually, there were a lot of martial arts slash ninja inspired movies in the 90s that were kind of around that same level of quality.
Yeah, and right after it, actually, yeah, right after a month later, we had Street Fighter, the Ultimate Battle,
Yeah,
which
Street Fighter. No, that's an odd duck as far as I'm concerned. Because make no mistake about it, it's a bad movie.
yeah, but
But
it's a bad movie in which a
it
lot of people put a lot of effort into.
it's such a it's such a joyously, wonderfully, horribly over the top bad movie that I cannot not enjoy it. And it's not even so bad it's good. It's just it's way above that because it's a train wreck that you really can't stop watching. At least I can. I mean, whenever I'm not gonna set aside a piece of my day to watch Street Fighter, but if it's on or if it's running, I'll stop and watch. I'll stop and watch.
And it's one of those movies that was sabotaged by the holder of the rights, Capcom, because they kept shoving characters into the movie because they wanted to showcase them for the next version of Street Fighter 2. So add this one. Put T-Hawk in there. T-Hawk appears for like 5 seconds and had to make a costume for him, get an actor for him. They put Cammy, like, I think they added her in reshoots because she wasn't there initially.
Well, she is in the final photo thing, so.
Yeah.
But
She had to, they added it like they kept adding things like as they were shooting the movie. But what was there at the base? Like Jean-Claude Van Damme did a lot of work with the stunts. Raul Julia just put everything he had into that movie. Like he was just coming off chemotherapy. He was dying, but he put his soul into it, and it shows. Like he's amazing in that movie.
he is amazingly over the top and wonderful. Yes, that's great. Actually, so because he was just coming off of chemotherapy, they had to they had to shoot around that. So at first they shot the scenes where he was just chilling out and standing or stuff like that. And as the movie progressed, they could do the more physical aspect as he was getting his strength back. For some, consider it unfortunate that was actually his last movie. But he did say he made it. He did it more for his kids because they were fans of the game, and you hear that with a lot of actors whom play roles in movies you wouldn't necessarily see them cast in because of their kids. I just saw a documentary today about the Masters of the Universe toy line and everything that went around it. It's called By the Power of Grayskull on Netflix. And Frank Langella, who played Skeletor, was a really solid actor.
Oh, in the movie, the Masters of the Universe movie with Dolph Lundgren?
In the movie. He said that he did the movie because his son had the toys and loved the toys and stuff like that. And you wouldn't have normally seen Langella in Skeletor's role, but he actually really super enjoyed it. So I think this is a more common thing than one would think. But again, Street Fighter as a Jean-Claude Van Damme vehicle, not the best of his not the best of his movies. But it's not that. I mean, it's horrible, sure, but yeah, it is kind of entertaining. Yeah.
There is one thing about the Street Fighter that sort of changed for me as time went on. I didn't think it was a very good movie. It had some funny bits in it, but I didn't really like it. I wouldn't, like you would say, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. But then, around 15 years later, they made Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, which focused solely on Chun-Li.
I haven't seen that one, so.
Oh, thank God. You have saved yourself so much suffering. It is a dreadful movie. And I mean, it is absolutely awful. I mean, Michael Clark Duncan as Balrog couldn't save it.
And isn't
Nothing
this
could.
then
It
didn't they
is
make
just a
Bison like an Australian or something?
Bison is the guy that played what's his face, Damien Dark in the Arrow TV show, the wizard guy.
No,
And
but I
he's
think
basically playing Damien Dark in this movie as well. He's not playing Bison.
I think he was doing something weird with like an accent or something. I don't know. I have only watched. I stopped watching video game adaptations at a certain point, and I've relied upon watching reviews of them because, yeah, I'm not gonna. No, I'm gonna let someone else suffer.
Yeah, and his grandmaster plan was to drive down property values so you could buy land. You know, it's I don't know what it is with Hollywood that they always make the villain in crappy movies do that.
A real estate schemer.
Yeah, that was
They
the
did
idea
that
of Superman 1.
Superman.
And then
Yes.
everybody else started doing it. Why?
Well, man, real estate is generally a very solid investment.
But
Also, if the I don't know if where did the movie take place? Did it take place in like Hong Kong or some
I
place
think
like
it was
that?
Hong Kong.
Usually, it's really expensive to develop anything there, due to I don't know the weird legal situation that Hong Kong is in.
That movie was just strange because at one point, Gen, which is Chun-Li's mentor, makes a fireball and she says, "Oh, cool." She doesn't question like, "Oh, how are you defying the laws of physics?"
What laws of physics?
There's never been an establishment before that there's magic in this world. She was just a cop, and now she can throw fireballs.
Well, like fireballs happen, man. What can you
Like
do?
I swear that that movie redefined for me how good the first one was. The first Street Fighter. The first one, they tried. They failed, but god damn it, they tried. There was soul there. There was passion. In this one, I don't know what was in it because there wasn't anything that could be considered good.
Yeah, I never really understood why. I mean, it's not like technically they could have made a movie based around any character. Granted, there's a couple of them that are more popular, you know, like Guile and Chun-Li, Blanca,
Ryu, Akuma, Ken.
Ryu, yeah, sure. So technically they could have made movies around focused on any of them. Whatever market research obviously led them to go with this path, because it's not like Chun-Li is a shitty character or anything. I mean, technically speaking, from the movie maker's perspective, they don't really need to do anything with the game lore, as it were. They just need to use the characters and the names. So they could have made up whatever crazy shit they would have wanted.
Also, it's kind of a gritty, dark reboot because I'm gonna spoil the movie for you. At the end, she snaps his neck, Bison's neck.
Oh, no.
It's so dark and she's earning revenge and stuff like that. I mean, the first one wasn't grim dark like Super Mario Bros. Was. It was actually fun.
Yeah, it was. It was a very. I mean, technically speaking, the setup is that of some sort of a civil war, if I remember correctly, or Bison
kidnapped some people once.
Kidnapping, yeah, and taking over a country because there's like the blue helmets there and stuff like
he
that.
He wanted I think it was he wanted to use the people he kidnapped as collateral for introducing a currency, the Bison dollar, that was worth £10, I think.
So you mean he is a progenitor of cryptocurrency?
Yeah, sort of.
I don't know. That movie was still. You know what? Whenever I think about that Street Fighter, I think about color. It's really colorful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of random shit colors, like and sparks. I remember sparks going off of everywhere. But let's move on to what I consider to be, and I think it is indeed a general consensus. if not the best, although I think it's the best. By far through, it's amongst the best video game to movie adaptations ever made. And even if people will fight me on that one, they cannot fight me on the fact that it definitely has the metalist, without it being metal because it was techno, soundtrack possible. Mortal Kombat.
Fight! You get no arguments from me. I love the movie.
So,
Kido.
Whenever I hear that song, there is no way I can maintain the previous mood I was in. It literally puts me in a great mood. And there is also this there's one or a couple of some YouTube videos with a bunch of people dressed up as the characters going around with the boombox and playing the intro song and then just dancing in the street. They're dancing. They're like in a Starbucks and they dance outside the construction site. They dance on cars. And it's just brilliant. So whenever I watch that or whenever I hear the song, it just automatically puts me in a great mood. And the movie isn't bad either. Mm-hmm. They took the main general idea of the bare bones story that the game has, because these are arcade games. They didn't have to have stories. The fact that they have some story is just like sure, at least there is this guy, he's evil, something dark side. But we have some protagonists, we have some decently set up villains. You understand their motivations. They have simple motivations, but you don't need complex characters in this. You need literal archetypes because they're supposed to literally fight. Mm-hmm. And the effects weren't bad either.
Especially Goro. Goro was like properly well made with actual physical effects, practical effects.
Yeah. Neither was Scorpion's fatality sort of move looked great. I enjoyed how Sub-Zero used his freeze touch in like a modern sort of setting to freeze that gun. Mm-hmm. That was fun. That was like, they didn't rely on what the game showed. They were like, let's make this shit our own. And the fights were well choreographed. The villain was wonderfully, and he was the precise level of over the top that I think the movie and the story required. Mm-hmm. He like over exaggerated his facial expressions and his everything. So I'm actually curious if there is anyone out there listening who would argue against Mortal Kombat, the first one, because Annihilation being the best video game to movie adaptation, considering the caveats we mentioned already.
Well, I have seen a few more adaptations than you have, and we may get later on into a couple of them. But up until this point, like for the majority of the existence of video game adaptations as movies, Mortal Kombat was the best one.
They somehow got it right in 1995, and then they fucked up.
It really helped that W.S. Anderson, Paul W.S. Anderson, who is kind of a fan of video games, he keeps making movies based on them. He's not as bad as Uwe Boll, though. He decided to go and kind of take the structure of Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, and apply that to Mortal Kombat. And it works.
Which is literally that's what happens. Yep. You fight through various levels of enemies until you reach the boss.
There were a couple of things they could have done a bit better. Like there's a fight between Liu Kang and that guy that does Copiera, Brazilian martial arts. That guy's from nowhere in the game. He gets no characterization. We have no idea what his name is. He just fights them. And it's a cool fight, but you sort of kind of wanted to, who is that guy? Who is he? What's he doing there?
He's just a random guy who gets killed number one.
Yeah. But apart from that, that and Reptile. The way Reptile looked, not the best use of CGI.
That. Sure, I'm not saying it was a spectacular movie. That was unfortunate, but yeah.
Also, fun fact: Robin Shou, who plays Liu Kang, keeps showing up in these movies. Not the Mortal Kombat one. I mean the ones that are adaptations of fighting games in movie form. He shows up in Dead or Alive as a random pirate that's on screen for like 2 minutes, and he's Gen, like the mentor of Chun-Li in Street Fighter: Legend of Chun-Li. He's unrecognizable because he's bald in that one, but he's in the movie.
Well, he's gotten. I mean, the first Mortal Kombat was in '95, and Legend of Chun-Li was 2009. So that's a lot of time for someone to naturally go bald, I think.
I think he should. Like, he had like a good set of hair on him.
If that was actually his hair. I saw a
picture of him in 2004. He still has the hair.
Okay, so maybe, hey man, if he cut it for a role, then he got really fucked over because cut your hair in order to play the Legend of Chun-Li. Better off with the hair.
I think it was because he also started in Death Race and he had sort of the same haircut.
Oh, so you mean he was like moonlighting? He was like, fuck it, I don't have a hair. Shit, it's fine.
Okay, I think that was the reason.
Okay, point taken. Because otherwise, I wouldn't cut my hair for that shit.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, have you seen a movie called Samurai Cop?
I haven't seen it, but I know of it. I plan on watching it. I know there's a kickstarted sequel done already.
Yeah, the main character had like amazing long hair, and after the movie was done shooting, he cut his hair because he had another job. And then the director calls him, hey, we're going to have to do reshoots. What? We're going to have to do reshoots.
Oh, yeah, and they put a female wig on him.
Yeah.
And he looks like he has this coiffed hair. Yes, I know, because I've seen reviews and images of it. Yeah, you have a point. Shit. Although I saw the trailer for the new one, and the guy has been he didn't let himself slip. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, I saw. He was on, I think, on a Red Letter Media once, promoting the second movie.
Mm-hmm. He's a buff guy, an older buff guy. Like, he doesn't fuck around. So Mortal Kombat, good. I think, you know what? I think I would watch Mortal Kombat just to watch Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
As opposed to, Street Fighter or basically any of the other video game movies around here.
I remember when we got HBO, once we had the free month because we just got cable, and there was a commercial on HBO for a Mortal Kombat movie, and I was so excited. And then the movie started with Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I got so excited. Like, the beginning of it. It's that giant battle scene where everybody's getting attacked, and suddenly things like didn't sort of they didn't sort of mesh with the first one, because in the first one, that Lord Raiden, the God of Thunder, is played by Christopher Walken.
No, Lambert.
Christopher Lambert, sorry.
Dude,
for a second.
Dude, you just made that movie. You just made that movie fucking awesome. Can you imagine? Christopher Walken as Raiden? And oh my god! You know what this needs? Needs more cowbell. Whoa! You just recasted the shit out of that movie, man. You just with one kids one difference, one slight difference can just totally change everything.
What I meant to say is that Christopher Lambert was a fun Raiden, because he played it like he was a god. Like, he didn't really care all that much for humans, but he liked them. But
he was
like immortal.
He was more like he was more like a chaotic sort of god. He was like, yeah, sure. He didn't. I mean, he just like you said, he cared about it, but he didn't really give a shit. Like, you can care and not give a shit at the same time. Yeah. That's what Raiden. That's what Christopher Lambert's Raiden was. Also, that laugh.
Yeah, and they stuck with that characterization in the TV series. But in the second movie, in Annihilation, he was played by James Remar, who is a fine actor.
Yeah.
And in this movie, he was given the direction of act as a wooden plank, and he did. He was
that was not good. And also, I mean, the sequel didn't. They could have done better.
It had some cool scenes, like there was a fight between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. There was the robots that I didn't get because I hadn't played the games with the robots back then.
I believe it was Smoke and Cyrax.
Yeah, there's bits of it that just don't make sense, and they didn't make sense back then.
It was not cool. Just like the entire the entire villain was a bit annoying. I mean, how would they set them up? They could have set it up completely differently, but
because at the end of the first one, he just shows up from like a destroyed temple and says, "You're insolent something. Your soul is mine." Like he's menacing, and the movie is not all that great.
Although that actor generally used to play,
he's quite menacing.
Yeah, he's he usually plays like either villains or henchmen or stuff like that. He doesn't have the face of a hero. He does not have.
And I think it's
a featureable face, unfortunately.
And the movie wasn't directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. It was directed by somebody else that apparently didn't have like the chops to pull it off. Also, probably since the first one was kind of a success. Like it had over 100 million box office revenue.
Yeah, let me check how much production was, because it couldn't have been that much. Yeah, go.
Well, it was only 18 million budget. Oh my god, that thing made a lot of money.
Oh, just 8 million? Holy
18.
Shit. Oh,
So
18. Well, even
probably
so.
40 with marketing.
No, I don't think
Best.
it was that much. I really don't think it was that much back then, at least.
So that's a lot of money made. Probably
Makes
because
sense.
of that, I think that maybe Midway got into the production a bit and say, hey, put Rain in there. Who? Rain. What's he do? I don't know. Put him in there. And Rain is in there for 5 seconds. He gets killed by Shao Kahn for no reason. He just
Don't have that much of a problem with like characters doing cameos as it were, or just
he's totally wasted. Like it makes Shao Kahn seem like a stupid idiot.
well, that's a problem. I didn't write this shit. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that movie was such a letdown. Such a disaster.
Talk about disasters. Wing Commander.
Oh, Wing Commander. Wing Commander is kind of a strange thing. I had not played any of the video games when I saw it.
Neither. I haven't played any of them yet either. So,
But I knew one important detail about the series, namely that in the series you have a lot of full motion video with a lot of really good actors, like Mark Hamill, who is the star of the series, or Biff from Back to the Future, who is also a main character, or Gimli from Lord of the Rings. He's in there as well.
So basically, actors with solid genre appeal. You mean? I mean, Mark Hamill at that time was, and he still is, Luke Skywalker. He will always be Luke Skywalker. Biff will always be Biff, unfortunately for him, I guess. But I think he enjoys it right now. I think I'm talking about the actor now. I think he's some sort of a singer.
No,
Or
he has a stand-up routine where he has a song about
a type of a one-man show, some type of thing. So he likes it. So that was and from what I understand, the cutscenes, as opposed to 98% of the rest of the FMV games, which were holy shit. The cutscenes in Wing Commander were actually like cinema grade, like movie level stuff.
Yeah, they were.
Partly because of the actors, and partly because of, you don't get those actors with and shoot them with an 8mm camera. But we don't get that with Wing Commander now, do we?
Well, no.
We get Freddy and Shaggy flying space fucking ships, which apparently have. So what thing I did like was like the spaceships were basically like the equivalent of like submarines or sea ships, and they somehow have the airplanes in their hangars. So that I dug. That's more of a Battlestar Galactica influence there.
I think it's also because one of the characters was played by Jürgen Prochnow, who was in Das Boot, the famous movie about submarine.
I think he was getting some. I think he was getting flashbacks when he was shooting that movie. Prepare to dive. But that movie is just also the cats.
Yeah, they're hairless.
I was like, what?
The thing is, they had the costumes for the games. They had a big budget for games. They cost $10 million to make each. And the movie had a bigger budget and somehow had worse special effects, worse practical effects.
Shaggy.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Shaggy.
Yeah. Also, they cut a bunch of a lot of bits from it. There was supposed to be a subplot with some traders that was supposed to set up some tension, but they just.
That has to do with the in movie plots with like the pilgrims and fucking religious, quasi-religious, super math people. Yeah, that just goes to show how well I understood that shit.
The thing is, it's actually directed by Chris Roberts, who directed the games and made the games, and he made the first one himself, basically. But in this case, he couldn't pull off a proper movie.
Well, sometimes I guess
there was some studio interference. That's a fact.
Sometimes, let's call it an indie director can't really jump to a full-fledged budgeted movie, because you're used to a different type of work schedule. You're used to people not fucking around with you, not getting notes about, it seems that the character is drinking coffee in this scene. Could he not drink coffee? It's in a diner, motherfucker. The scene takes place in a diner.
He could have probably waited until he made the Wing Commander movie, because his production company made The Lord of War with Nicolas Cage. It's a really good movie. So he eventually got the idea of how to make good movies.
And it's too bad that something like Wing Commander sucked, literally sucked and flopped.
Because Wing Commander was being built on as being the next Star Wars. It was huge.
And it definitely had the potential, man. I mean, from a world building, lore, story telling point of view, it definitely had the potential of becoming the new sci-fi franchise out there, the new series to watch.
But then two things happened. Electronic Arts pushed for yearly releases, which killed everybody that worked on the game and killed interest in the game, because there was too much of it too quick and with degrading quality.
That tends to happen when you...
And then the Electronic Arts got a pitch for an MMO based on Wing Commander. It was supposed to be a really innovative MMO where players could make their own cities and govern their own provinces and interact in a really, not just combat based, but political, have political interactions with them. And they said no. And that game went on to be Star Wars Galaxies.
So, as we might have noticed, even until recently, not the best of decision makers. Wing Commander. So much squandered potential.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Shaggy and Freddy. Fuck. Yeah. The next one that is on the list, we're actually, for those listening and who are still listening by now, we're actually just going through a list of video game adaptations that you can easily find on Wikipedia.
Probably going to put it on the screen too.
Yeah. And the thing is that, actually I can do that from the beginning, just to be clear. And I actually, after this next one, I kind of stopped watching video game adaptations. I've seen a couple more, but after Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, which I have to say, not a bad movie.
Yeah, I liked it.
It's not a great movie, but
It was enjoyable.
yeah, it was an entertaining watch. It did the character right. She definitely looked as much as you could possibly look with the polygonal version of Lara Croft back then.
And she was like properly badass in the movie. Like,
Oh yeah. She
like, was spelling around with with the SAS. Just like the movie sort of established like she wasn't new to them. They had met her before.
Which again was nice because and this was something that wasn't a thing back then. They really didn't do origin stories.
No, not really. Like they took the character from where they started and just went with them.
Yeah. Street Fighter, no origin story. Mortal Kombat, no really origin story there either. I mean, we get to see some characters and they go fight. Sure.
Yeah.
Wing Commander, I think the movie starts mid-combat, literally. I'm not.
Yeah, it starts
I'm not
already in development.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but that's Lara Croft similarly, and but unfortunately, it got kind of buried by its sequel, which wasn't as good.
I have seen the sequel. I think I keep like putting it on the TV in the background and then just fading out.
Yeah, no, they tried. They fast tracked it, and it was so the first one was released in 2001, and the second one it was in 2003. So they couldn't have spent as much time as they probably did with the first script. I'm pretty sure. I think in the second one she punches a shark. I think that actually happens.
The second one had Richard Butler, the 300 guy in it. What's his name? Butler something. The one from 300. But the first one had Daniel Craig in it.
I think, yeah, he was.
He gets a shower scene in it.
See, that's what we don't see from the 007s. That was one of the Lost Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that much to say about Lara because unfortunately it
Before the internet decided to interrupt us, we were talking about Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider, yes. I was saying that despite me remembering it being a good movie, I don't remember that much shit about it. It was a bit forgettable, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I have the same problem, like a major problem with the second one because I remember nothing from it. I remember the actor from the 300 movie, and that's it.
Gerald Butler.
Gerald Butler, yeah.
I just remembered his name. It's Gerald Butler. Yeah. Also, she punches a shark, which technically might work. I can't remember what the definitive conclusion from the MythBusters was, but it's better than nothing, I guess.
So you haven't seen the last Tomb Raider movie, the one that came out, I think, this year?
No, I haven't. I haven't played any other Tomb Raider game since I think I played the second one. I can't really tell you, but no, I haven't watched this recent one because I'm not really connected to the whole Lara Croft Tomb Raider. It's not the type. It's not the type of game I play.
Yeah. Well, the new series is a reboot, and it shows you her origin. And this movie, in a way, is also meant to show you her origin as she became Tomb Raider. There's just one small difference between the game and the movie. Well, they have the same plot, they have the sort of same plot, the same sort of characters, same setup, but there's one very, very slight difference. The movie isn't shit. The game is garbage in terms of storytelling. Like, it's absolute garbage. But the movie, my God. The actress, Alicia, I forgot her name. Let me see if I can find it. Alicia Vikander. She plays Lara Croft like perfectly. She has charisma oozing out of every pore. she sells it. Like, that movie is bang on perfect. It's better than the game.
Well, that's not something we hear every day.
I know, it's actually quite shocking.
It's probably because she is aware of how important how important this could be, in her future as an actress. So maybe that's why she actually put in a lot of effort. But looking at the numbers, I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna get a sequel, man.
Well, yeah, let's see, what was the budget for it?
Almost 100 million.
Oh dear God, it barely broke even, didn't it?
Once you add in marketing, they're in the black, but not a lot, not enough. I don't think they're enough for the studio to greenlight a second one. Maybe later on or something. But,
yeah, it's kind of like if they gave her a better plot, one that's not tied to the movie, to the games that they're making now, she would be like a superb action star in that series.
That's cool to know. That's cool to hear. But again, I haven't seen it. Yeah, go.
Speaking of series that made actors or actresses action stars, have you seen the first Resident Evil movie?
I've seen parts of it. Yes. I haven't actually. Again, Resident Evil, none. I have never played any of the games because, me, dude. I'm the RPG turn-based strategy city builder kind of player. I don't usually go for these types of games.
Well, that's okay, because they're sort of more like taking the general idea of the games, not the plot of the games themselves.
I know a little bit about it, and at least the first one, from what I understand, the first one is a pretty decent movie.
It's sort of an original take on the idea of Resident Evil, where you're not stuck in the mansion, you're going right to the laboratory, and it's got characters that are not like, none of them are in the game, and it does its own thing. But it's actually nice. It's well made. It has some nods to the video game, with bodies disappearing if they go out of a room and come back.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's a really, really nice movie. Not great, but it's nice with what they did.
I think we've established that we're not talking here about great movies.
Oh no, not at all.
At the very most, they're entertaining.
And I can say the same thing about its sequel, Resident Evil Apocalypse, where they had Jill Valentine, the first character from the actual games, and they had Carlos, and it does its best to recreate scenes from the game, with the way the zombies attack, the way they move. It has the nemesis and big bad enemy. It's a worse movie, but I like it. It's still enjoyable.
I've seen bits and pieces of that one as well, because I remember her fighting nemesis thing.
Yeah, it's just that.
Is it that one when she drives a
motorcycle into a church? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
But the thing is that from that movie on, they establish Alice, which is a character that does not exist in the video games, as being a super duper cool badass. That Mila Jovovich sort of sells it, but the series becomes just about her. And there's a joke going around that the only reason Paul W.S. Anderson makes the movies, apart from them making money, a lot of money, is...
Do they make money?
Well, they've consistently made money for the last 10 years.
Oh, point taken, because otherwise they wouldn't have made this many.
The last one made $300 million on a budget of $40 million. So that is a lot.
That's not bad.
The reason he's making this movie is so he can... There's sort of like a gift to his wife, because she stars in them.
So that they can spend time together when they're at work, maybe? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe at first he was macking on her, and then eventually they got married, and he's like, oh shit, so this is how it started. So in order to keep it going, then I have to... she has to feature in my movies. Mm-hmm. That might be it. Sure, why not? Okay.
I sort of with the third one, they completely lost any connection with the series, because in the third one the oceans dry up and the apocalypse
it becomes all post-apocalyptic and shit.
Yeah, and then in the one after it, the oceans are back somehow, It's not super post-apocalyptic anymore. And then there's a
It's post-apocalyptic.
yeah, and then I confused them, and then I've seen most of them, but I confused them all. And at one point, they're just one movie for me. Like after the third one, there's just one movie with strange things in it, and I didn't.
Yes, on the
know
other,
difference.
on the other hand, you can't really be blamed because they have all of these cool super stock names like Extinction, Afterlife, Retribution, the Final Chapter.
At least that one's a bit more recognizable, unless they make a sequel, the final chapter,
The epilogue,
the ultimate chapter.
the Bible too.
I think we're getting to the point where we have to talk about Uwe Boll.
I would much rather not. Let's just not say his name, please,
Yes, the German.
because he doesn't. No, because that sounds dubious to say the least. That real shitty movie game adaptation guy.
He makes movies simply because he gets grants from the government for
from
them.
the German government. Yes, I'd move there if that would be, but I think that's only something that citizens have access to. I have only seen one of his movies, and I believe it is the only movie that actually had a real budget, like a super solid budget. I saw In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale, director's cut. For some odd reason, I had the director's cut, and that's what I watched.
I still don't get why they adapted that game as a movie, because the story of Dungeon Siege is your character doesn't matter. You can, after you get your second character in the party, you can dismiss your first character because he doesn't matter, and you go around beating everything you find in your way until there's something left to kill. That's the whole idea of the game.
I think he was maybe, or someone was trying to do their own Lord of the Rings shtick. Because you have to keep in mind, this was during full on. Well, actually, this was post the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so that atmosphere of let's get a fantasy something started was a thing.
Yeah, and somebody gave him $60 million to make it.
And for those $60 million, he got granted Jason Statham wasn't that big back then, but he pretty much. John Rhys Davies, aka Gimli, Ron Perlman, whom I just love watching in movies. Not in this one, but in general, I just love him in movies, and his voice as the narrator of the Fallout intros and Hellboy, obviously. And also Ray Liotta. So there were a bunch of, and if I remember correctly, Ray Liotta really hams it up. He like overplays the shit out of this role. Lily Sobieski, not that much, but yeah, sure, fine. So for that money, he got some really solid actors, a really shitty screenplay, and holy fuck, some of the worst sets I have ever seen money can buy. Not to mention the costumes. I swear to you, at a certain point, I think that the orcs, or whatever the fuck those are, I think they're orcs, I think they're wearing armor that looks like it's made out of solidified shit. That's literally what I thought. And like these guys are clad in dried up shit, right? Because I mean, maybe fantasy shit has a different type of resistance to being hit. Wow, was it bad? Holy shit!
I still don't get how he convinced them to give them the money, because none of his movies made anything at the box office. They made nothing compared to the budget at the box office. He made money because the government gave him back money.
Yeah. Holy shit, Burt Reynolds was in this one as well.
Yeah, oh god.
As a supporting actor.
I mean, he was famous for, like, when he filmed Blood Rain in Romania, he bought people hookers.
Sure. What else do you do?
Kristana Loken told Linkara and the Spoony one interviewed her at an event, and she told them all the stuff that Webol used to do at filming.
Sure, but the good thing is let me look at the bright side. Is that we haven't heard of him in a long while. He's been trying to crowdfund a movie.
He made I think it was called Rampage. It was just a movie about a guy going on a killing spree, and that was okay from what I've been told.
Are you sure it's not Postal? Because Rampage
is based on a game. Rampage was like complete. It's not tied to that Rampage. Let's see if I have the right name.
Hold on. No, because Rampage is this later one with The Rock and the
it's
giant
2009,
wolf.
made by Uwe Boll. It doesn't say if it had a box office at all. But it was apparently, let's see, reception, positive reviews. Received positive reviews, which is something.
Okay. Well, the better thing is that I know he tried to crowdfund something and failed like 2 or 3 times consecutively.
Yeah, I remember one of the campaigns.
And he posted some sort of super aggressive sounding videos afterwards.
Yeah.
Like cussing out people for wanting to see the Marvel sheet, I think he calls it. So I hope if we never hear his name uttered ever again, it will be too soon.
Yeah. So, did you see by any chance the movie Doom?
No, I haven't, and I'm kind of I don't know if I'm gonna check if it's on Netflix. I might just run that because I know towards the end it goes into first person mode.
It was the first movie adaptation to star The Rock. It will not be the last, and it deviates completely from the story of Doom, but it's got 2 really okay leads, The Rock and Judge Dredd.
Oh, Karl Urban, man, dude! Yeah. I love that guy in
Xena Warrior
Dread.
Princess. He was amazing. It's Cupid.
In Dread so much. He's a super solid actor. I watched that fucking Priest movie. The movie is called Priest.
Yeah, I remember it.
It's with the guy who plays Vision, whose name eludes me at the moment.
Yeah, I know.
The basic idea of the Priest movie is kind of cool. Also post-apocalyptic, interesting. There's vampires. There's like this special cult of religiously super. Basically, it's kind of like Equilibrium, but with less. Basically, it's like Equilibrium. But the coolest part in that movie is that Karl Urban is the villain, and that's why I really enjoyed watching that movie. Could have been better. The Priest could have been a much better movie. And not to talk about Dread, which I insanely totally love. So cool. I wrote I have like a 5 or 6 page long review for Dread, which I haven't yet recorded because it's just I don't want to put in all that time and then get my video fucking copywritten, flagged and shit.
Yeah, that's one of the perils of YouTube.
Yeah, with the problems of doing movies. And as you know, with the podcast now, I just put on gameplay video.
Yeah.
But I do, from what I understand, we're going to be getting Judge Dredd games though.
Yeah, the Rebellion stated that they're going to do their best to revive Judge Dredd in every way possible.
So the comics have been going on and really cool actually. But we might be getting. I'm curious. I mean, an FPS would definitely work. Like, would totally work considering the movie. But I hope they put in a bit more extra effort and combine some sort of a SWAT type mechanic with the shooty. Because technically, before they shoot them, unless So unless they're returning fire, in which case doesn't matter, they can kill at will or at them. Otherwise, they have to first try to arrest the perpetrator.
To tell them they are the law.
So yeah, so I hope there's a bit of that whenever we do get to play, get to see some new Judge Dredd. Yeah, sorry, I just went on a Dredd binge. Sorry about that.
So back to Doom.
Doom, okay.
It's kind of, but apart from the first person shooter part, that part actually is properly good. And there's nothing else to that movie.
Yeah, that's kind of what I heard. It's a very by the number sort of thing.
And then we come to Silent Hill. Have you played the games or seen the movie?
No. I've just seen the weird cosplays.
Silent Hill sort of flips the script a bit. Like they had to cast Sean Bean in it because in the original cut there were no male characters at all in the movie.
So they had to cast someone who would die instantaneously?
No, they just added him, like, after the movie was done, they just shoved him in there with his own subplot where he never dies. It's the only movie where he doesn't die.
Oh no, I've seen another one in which he doesn't die actually.
Who?
Yeah, he's in I don't know what the name is, but it's a bad movie. Anyway.
Because he dies in the intro to Civilization 6 as well. He was surprised by it.
Of course he does. I think the Sean Bean dying memes and whatnot, and like trend. Yeah, I think people generally forgot about it. So I think
it's sort of like Leo and the Oscar thing. It's over. It's been done.
Yeah, so I think I think he's fine. I think he can come out of the shadow of dying in every movie.
Yeah, he didn't die in this one, and the movie was actually quite good. Like it didn't follow the game precisely, but it followed it close enough. With especially the aesthetic, it took the aesthetic to a whole new level to the point where the game started to copy the movie.
I think I heard that actually. Yeah.
The way the world transforms from the normal Silent Hill to the dark version, the shadow version, the crazy, insane version. They put that in the game because it was so well done in the movie. How everything melts and burns away.
Yeah, but apparently it didn't do that well at the box office. So that explains why, even though you think it was good, and maybe it was, it didn't click with the audience.
Well, it was sort of horror-ish kind of movie with a lot of mood and not a lot of action. In fact, you don't go in guns blazing in it at any point. It also had a sequel that I sort of kind of almost remember. That I'm not sure if that one did any better.
Yeah, I see it's called Revelation.
Oh yeah, that's why I don't remember it. Because it's... Why did they put that name?
Yeah, I don't know, it did arguably worse.
For a second there, I thought it may have been also the name of a Resident Evil movie, because like there's Retribution and Revelation in the same year, a month separate from each other.
Yeah, that's... Yeah,
they're adaptations of games from the same genre with almost the same name.
Yeah, it's the stock subtitle, because apparently you can't have the Resident Evil 2 anymore, or
yeah, it's
Silent Hill 7. You always have to have like a subchapter stuff.
Yeah, because this was after Hollywood just started hating numbers. Because at one point you used to have Rambo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now they had just Rambo or Rocky.
Yeah, technically Rocky is a better example, because Rambo, technically the first one is called First Blood.
Yeah.
And then the second one is called Rocky First Blood Part 2.
And the third one they dedicated
and then it's Rocky 3.
And the third one they dedicated to the Taliban.
Yeah.
They changed it.
Back then they were friends.
Yeah.
But no, Rocky is a much better example. Also, Lethal Weapon.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's no fucking about with those ones either.
And then came the cutoff point where Hollywood decided numbers are the enemy.
You know when that happened? when someone thought it was a good idea to shorten Independence Day to ID4.
Oh God.
What the fuck was that shit about?
I don't know.
It was like the beginnings of the prehistory of lead speak.
Yeah, it's the stupid titling that we got in video games as well. We got Drive-Thru, which was driver with 3 instead of a letter.
Yeah, that was a major thing back then.
We got Freer, which was fear with a 3 instead of an E. We got I can't pronounce thief with 4 in the name. How do you pronounce it? Throf? Thrief?
The 40th, I don't know.
40th, yeah.
You know, the only one, the only title that actually makes sense is Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, because
that one works on 2 levels, and I'm like, okay, I see what you did there. Good show. I approve. But in general, yeah. And ever since then, ever since IT4 and shit, have we ever had anything major that has, a number? Just a number. Because technically speaking, yeah, all of the Star Wars are episode number, but it then has a chapter.
Well, the animated stuff has kept numbers. I think it's so kids will watch them and not get confused with what comes after which.
Are you sure?
The Incredibles 2, Cars 2, Cars 3, stuff like that.
Okay. On the other hand, Incredibles not the most kiddish. I mean, sure, kids can watch them, but it's more for the adults. Let's be honest.
It's for everybody.
Shrek does numbers also.
Yeah,
although I think
did it until Shrek the Third, and then Shrek Forever After something.
Yeah.
There was one with King Arthur that was sucked. I lost track of them because they made a lot of them. But coming back to video game adaptations, let's see, we left off. Oh, Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive is Mortal Kombat, same plot.
With tits.
Yeah, with tits. Also, Robin Shoes in it. He plays a pirate. He gets kicked off a boat in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, Dead or Alive is. I mean, in as far as the movie adapting what happens in the game, close enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's about bikini-clad chicks.
That's at least they didn't make an adaptation of the Extreme Volleyball series. I think actually that may be on Pornhub. Now that I think about it.
If you thought about it, it's probably there.
Yeah. Moving on, Hitman. I didn't really enjoy this one because
now this is totally your show because I have never played any of the games.
So the story of Hitman is that 47 is a genetically engineered assassin that was raised in Romania in a lab. He escapes. Well, he's let out actually, unbeknownst to him. He becomes a contract killer for the International Association, and he basically goes on killing whoever he's paid to do. In the movie, he's an orphan, and he protects somebody, and he doesn't really act like Hitman, because Hitman sort of... The core idea of the games is that you are not given a good grade unless you are completely unseen, and the person that died so subtly that not even they knew what they died of. And the movie, not so much. It's about explosions and killing people like publicly and heavy firefights. It's not really what that series was about. But the sequel, Hitman Agent 47, does sort of bring things back around, because for the most part it's not told from Hitman's perspective, it's told from the perspective of the people that he is hunting. And it's sort of apparently like he may be somewhere like there in the background shown a bit, something like that. And he the first mission he does in the movie, he just kills people by standing in a chair and pressing a couple of buttons, which is something you could do in the games. Like, he's already planned things out, done everything needed, and just waits for the targets to get to where they have to and die by themselves. It wasn't a great movie.
It does have a number in it, but not necessarily a 2.
It wasn't a great movie, but it kind of worked a bit.
The thing is, so as... well, probably our listeners aren't really aware. They might be aware of me as an indie game reviewer type person, but I started my channel many moons ago reviewing movies, and I kind of stopped doing that a couple of years ago when I decided to focus on games. But now I've missed talking about movies so much that I started up my podcast where I talk about TV shows. Apparently, up until now, I've been talking only about TV shows, which is good because there's cool TV shows there, TV series. Sorry, that I think people should be aware of, either to watch or not to watch. Do not watch The Rain. So I'm saying this in order for our listeners to understand that I tend to have my pulse not only on the mainstream of movie going and movies, but also into the various subgenres. I'm a big sci-fi guy, fantasy guy, this sort of stuff, and I always consider it a good sign if things reach me. I consider myself not necessarily. I mean, if some good news relating to a movie reaches me, then it means that movie has some merit, or it has staying power. And the Hitman movies, I literally had no idea they existed. I totally blanked out on them existing up until we started talking about this subject a couple of days ago and we looked on the list. So I think it suffered from, well, most probably it suffered from being a bad flick, but it also suffered from it maybe being too bland or being too, as you said, if it has explosions and shooty uppies. We have John Wick now for that.
Yeah,
and the John Wick
is a
movies,
much better. Well,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That those movies are kind of really good. Actually, they're like, they have no reason to be as good as they are.
But they are actually quite good. I mean, Hitman,
Yeah, exactly.
Hitman
That's what I'm saying.
try to be a bit more like John Wick. Actually, now that I think about it, the last one, because he does have like bits where he kills people from the shadows, but so does John Wick. But the idea was that Hitman was always supposed to be like always in the shadows, but it's not, which is sad.
Yeah. Oh, there's I think we're almost kind of down to the last couple of movies.
Yeah. You said that you were not aware of the Hitman movies. I always forget there's a Max Payne movie. I never remember. I've seen it. I remember
you're
nothing
right.
from it. I know Mila Kunis played Mona Sachs. I know Mark Wahlberg played Max Payne. I remember nothing else.
Oh, this is the movie. That means I always confuse this one with the other 3 or 4 movies in which Mark Wahlberg is just shooting guns randomly at people.
Possibly.
Okay. Yeah, no, he was, dude. He's in a movie literally called Shooter.
Oh yeah.
So you can understand my confusion. Again, yet another series of games I never played. But yeah, so again, Max Payne, Far Cry apparently. Again,
Yeah.
no.
Let's not mention it.
Okay.
That one was kind of like. Well, it was filmed in Canada and not a tropical island, but that's the whole other thing. It was slightly above his average, and his average is somewhere below the sea level of the Marianas Trench bottom floor.
Yeah, okay, good. Fuck it.
Moving on, we talked about Chun-Li and Prince of Persia. Tekken. Tekken sort of follows the story of the games a bit, and it's actually properly good.
On the other hand, how could you follow the stories of the games?
You know how they do it?
People playing the games can follow the fucking stories of those games.
They do it by having Kari Hyoruki Takawaga. I butchered his name, I'm sorry.
I don't know how many Japanese
Tagawa.
listeners we have. I think we're fine.
Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat is Eyebrows McGee Mishima in Tekken. He is the main.
He's a good villain, man. He's a good villain.
He is Heihachi Mishima. And I don't know why it has a 0 score on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it doesn't have a score because I think it only came out on DVD. But it's a properly good martial arts movie because the guy that's playing like the main role, John Fu is his name, he's actually a martial artist and he likes video games so much that he starred in a fan movie, a fan short film of Street Fighter, that then got turned into a full-length movie called Assassin Fist, which is properly actually good. And it had a DVD release and everything. It started up as some web episodes, and it's actually probably the best video game-based movie ever made. And it's a fan-based movie, made by fans, made by people that loved it without any interference from studios.
Well, probably that's why.
Yeah.
Because they did it on their own. Technically, usually you can't do that because, whenever you want to do like a fan thing, then the copyright holder just fucking smashes you to any type of bit possible.
They actually had the director of the current Street Fighter series. Oh no, I forget what his name is. He's in the actual movie and he screams around at the video arcade. He's in there for like a couple of minutes. So Capcom gave them a blessing and they just made a perfect movie with it. And it had a sequel which was published on some. I think CBS or some other network had a streaming service that got shut down a couple of months ago. Nobody saw it. So, yeah. It's probably going to get a DVD release one day.
Maybe.
So what's left? Need for Speed. Same boat as Max Payne. I've seen it. I know Michael Keaton was added in post-production to add some spice to racing. I remember nothing of it.
But again, it's a racing car movie. I mean, what can you do with that? I mean, even in the Fast and the Furious, it's not only... It started being about, like, illegal racing shit, but, like, in the past one, I think the next one, they're going to space or...
probably.
Or they're going to travel through time or some shit. Need for Speed is
nowhere near as good as the Fast and the Furious movies, any of them. Even the third one, which is the one that nobody likes. It was a revenge story about what's his name? I forget his name. The guy that played Tony Stark in the Captain America. He plays Preacher in Preacher. What's his name? God damn it! I'm gonna have to look it up. Preacher. Come on, internet. He is called Preacher EMC. Dominic Cooper. Yeah, Dominic Cooper. He's the villain, and there was a trend with putting Dominic Cooper as the character or as the villain in a couple of movies in the past decade, like Dracula Untold and Need for Speed and Warcraft, and he sucks in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was a movie about racing that just... I don't remember pretty much anything out of it. It was just bland. Super bland.
Blandy make a bland face.
I don't know how they managed to do it, because there have been properly good movies about cars, about racing. Gone in 60 Seconds was promoted alongside Need for Speed 5. And it is a superb movie. It's not super, but it's a great movie.
Gone in 60 Seconds isn't about car racing. It's about car stealing.
Yeah.
Is my point there? I mean, there's more of a plot hook in there rather than just racing cars and shit for whatever reason. But it just goes to show, man. We're in a time now when just having the title or just having an actor will not sell tickets anymore.
Because it starred Jesse from Breaking Bad, and I can't even remember if he says the word bitch in it.
Because and I think that's we're gonna save this potential tangent maybe for a different discussion, possibly. But I don't think it's that much relevant to video games because we're in a different medium. But when it comes to movies, there was a time when just having a particular title or having, better yet, when just having a particular star in the movie would just literally sell that movie, whatever that was. But not anymore. That has changed. And all this list that we've been talking about relating to video game to movie adaptations is a great example to see how the audience of a product, because let's not kid ourselves. These are products. They might be art, but they are art made to be consumed. They're made for entertainment purposes. They're not meant to send any sort of personal, deep artistic message. Sure, those can exist within all of these things, but they're mainly made to make money. And it shows that having an audience, an already built-in audience in one medium will not necessarily translate to that same audience supporting a different medium.
That's why a lot of people thought that the Warcraft movie was kind of
Yeah, and this is something that is that much. I mean, it's also valid within the gaming industry because video gamers won't necessarily shift to or play a board game or in general a tabletop game just because it features an already known franchise from the video game. But more importantly, the other way around won't happen either. It actually might not happen at all, as in tabletop or board game players won't necessarily back or get into a video game version of a title of a board game that they're already enjoying, because they're looking for that type of experience. They're looking for either the tabletop or the video game experience, and that thing also translates to this. These games, their video games, as you said earlier, it's an interactive medium. Mm-hmm. When we play these games, we are the hero. We are the protagonist. We are the asshole who is usually pulling the strings, because otherwise we wouldn't really be playing the game now, would we? If we're not looking for that experience, then we would literally be watching a movie or reading a book or a comic book or whatever have you. So I think there's this this difference between the mediums, the fact that video games are an interactive medium and movies are definitely not that. They're just more of an observational medium, is what makes video game to movie adaptations so hard to get right. Mm-hmm. Because we expect ourselves to be playing the game. Also, considering how advanced graphics have gotten lately, honestly, the graphics in video games are better than the CG in the movies, because again, they have to go through a bunch of limitations because they still have to interact with humans. Mm-hmm. So I think that is by far the main disconnect that happens, and why I think that future video game to movie adaptations should literally try to do their own thing. They can take inspiration from the games, but they should try to do their own thing and not expect to have the same amount of appeal that the game has, because it won't. It just literally won't. A giant chunk, I think, of the gaming public will not be interested in partaking in a passive experience, when right at home they can have a very hands-on experience with that title. That's my way of that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. It's I think Jodorowsky said there was a documentary about Alejandro Jodorowsky, who is an insane man, also a director of movies. He wanted to make an adaptation of Dune, and he said that he didn't want to make the Dune that was in the book, because the Dune's already in the book. That story's already been told. He wanted to make his own, like take in a different direction. And his direction was kind of weird, because he's insane, but it still looked like a good movie, which is apparently going to sort of kind of be made because what is his name? Villeneuve something. The guy that made the last Blade Runner movie.
Yeah, Villeneuve is a very from what I understand. He's a very very artsy, very visual-minded sort of director.
Yeah, Jodorowsky showed him all his plans for Dune, and he's gonna make it.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna be getting a lot of Dune-themed things very soon. I know they're working on an RPG and a board game, actually.
Cool.
Tabletop variants of Dune. So that would be definitely interesting. But the thing is that in some circumstances, such as the Dune universe, that there has been so much world building done within that universe that he or you or I could literally just take the building blocks and make our own thing, because there's been so much detail put into it that we can always refer to that. When it comes to something like Need for Speed, there's very little something different you can do. It's cars and racing, and if you go a lot beyond that, then why call it Need for Speed? Why link it to you can just call it Gone in 59 seconds. So there's also that issue with some properties. You can do that. Warcraft, you can totally do that. Holy shit, what can't you do in the easily retconnable universe of Warcraft? Tomb Raider, same thing. The characters have been Lara Croft can be rebooted, can be rewritten, but as long as you maintain just the general focus of raiding tombs, or just generalizing to adventuring, you can also do a bunch of different things there. Lara can be white, can be black, can be whatever, can be Asian, doesn't matter. She can go underwater, she can go into space. It's gonna work. You can do your own thing. You don't have to stay chained to what the video game did. I don't think you should actually feel more strongly about this, having been, or you've already written a book and working on the second one. I haven't. I'm just working on short stories. But even if I were I'm a huge fan of Batman. That's huge. If I had the opportunity of writing Batman, I wouldn't be writing the animated series Batman, or Adam West Batman, or the Dark Knight person who apparently thinks he's Batman but isn't. No, I would be writing my own version of Batman, because as a creative person, I want to put my own mark on things. And that's the second issue that you've talked about quite a bit when it comes to at least the beginning part of gaming adaptations, is that the copyright holders were always butting in.
Mm-hmm.
And then it didn't allow for any of the creatives behind that to actually, first of all, make it a cohesive thing. That would be ideal. That would be the prerequisite. And second of all, make it a thing, make it their thing, or make it its own thing. And I might be ranting by now. I'm gonna shut up.
That's okay. That actually leads us to the last movie that's been released as an adaptation of a video game, Rampage. It has the idea of the game with giant monsters attacking buildings, but it is set within that framework. There is no The Rock or human character in Rampage, the game. But there is in here, and it's according to this chart, this is the best received video game adaptation ever made, with 52% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's also one of the most successful with over $400 million made.
Yeah, on a $120 million budget, so even if we double that, it made some money, yeah.
So it's probably gonna get a sequel. I've seen it. It's an okay action movie.
It has a giant wolf in
you to
it.
know anything. Yeah. It doesn't require you to understand anything about the game, because nobody remembers anything about the game. It was 50 years ago or something like that. But compare that to Warcraft, where in Warcraft you're expected to know some things about the Warcraft universe for it to make sense, because it's really badly edited.
And that is bad. That's either bad writing or bad editing or simply bad movie making. Again, I use this as my philosophy. Every comic book is someone's first comic book.
Yeah.
Unless it's called, if it was Warcraft 2, Warcraft Beyond the Dark Portal, you're supposed to go in knowing some shit. Let's just be honest with that one.
Yep.
But this was just Warcraft. So explanations and intros and setting shit up, those things have to happen, because the fuck.
Well, you're sort of starting to break up again, so I think it's time to close up this the show.
Oh, I think we've been talking for like 2 hours.
Oh, it's an hour and a half if I cut the time where the internet just gave out.
No, not really. I mean, maybe. I've been recording for an hour and a half. That's what I'm saying. And we recorded a bit before that as well. We'll see. See. You'll see, actually.
Yeah. I'm gonna edit this probably tomorrow.
Yep.
So in the future we'll have Detective Pikachu to look out for, which...
Is that gonna be live action?
I don't know, and I'm afraid to ask. And then, of course...
It says... it's in the list.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, it says they're in the live action movie, so... What the fuck? How are they gonna... How is that... Are there... I didn't look into these, to be honest. Detective...
I was afraid to look up Sonic the Hedgehog because the way Sega treats it now is just frightening. There was that game where, with the bestiality thing.
No, it's literally, it's most likely gonna be like a CG Pikachu, and in like the real world, I guess. I think. Okay, that's.
Oh my god!
The film stars Ryan Reynolds as the voice of Detective Pikachu. Okay.
Really, in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, Jim Carrey is Dr. Robotnik.
Oh shit! It's gonna be the Riddler all over again.
Mm-hmm.
You know he's gonna play it like the Riddler, right? Which again, I don't have that much of a problem with Batman Forever, to be honest. Yeah, it had too much Jim Carrey because he was like huge at that time, but I'm okay with it. I'm at a happy place with it. Contented, not happy. But apparently those are the only 2 titles in the works, man. And to be honest, I haven't heard about anything else that might be in the makings of. So yeah, as opposed to comic book movies, the video game adaptations are still waiting to be a thing. Actually, they've been a thing for a while, but they're waiting to be a successful. They haven't found a successful recipe to it, because once they do, they will repeat that and copy it and dig it into the ground as quickly as possible, because it's Hollywood and it's all about the money.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think we should.
Yeah, we should end it. Well, we just want to mention that there were some movies I think we sort of glossed over because they weren't in the list. There was a not Final Fight, King of Fighters. Yeah, adaptation.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm remembering correctly, the idea was that Ray Park's character, Darth Maul in Star Wars, he was collecting information about other fighters in order to become the best fighter in the world, which is the same plot of the Dead or Alive movie and the same plot of the animated Street Fighter 2 movie.
I think they were also fighting in some sort of a virtual reality of thing. Yeah. And I do remember that they cast Maggie Q, whom is both a good actress and really hot, let's just be honest, but they cast her as Mai. And if you know anything about that series and that character, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be that guy that says that you have to look exactly like the character, but in this case the difference was quite staggering, let's just say. Just gonna leave it at that. She's a great actress though. I got nothing against her, holy shit. But that was just odd. I'm just gonna go with odd.
Yeah, it'd be like casting Keira Knightley in a Soul Calibur movie as Ivy.
Pretty much, pretty much. Yeah. It's a good thing we're not getting a Soul Calibur movie. What the fuck would that be about?
I have no clue because Geralt of Rivia is in it right now.
Oh yeah, sure. Why not? It is. Did it become like this Smash Brothers sort of thing?
Yeah, they sort of added in the fourth one, Darth Vader was in it, and Yoda.
Fun in the sun.
Oh, I guess that would be all the movies. We didn't cover the animated ones because like they.
No, we had to.
There's just too many of them.
We also needed to put some limitations on the discussion. It's been taken for a. It took a while as it was.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna see you again. We're gonna see you again. You're breaking up badly, so could you tell us what's on your channel and hopefully your side will record it?
Yes, my side is recording it. Next week on my channel, I will be telling you about the top 7 cool video game swords, or at least the top 7 swords I think are really cool in as far as video games goes. The show was inspired by one of yours as well, because your top, how many swords do you have in your
Mine
top?
was top 7.
It's also 7. Okay, so your top 7 wasn't really up to snuff to my top 7, so I made another top. I made a different top 7, and for the podcast, I think I'll be talking about Agretsuko. That's it for me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can barely. Well, on the show, on the channel, we're gonna have the usual videos each and every week. Raul is currently away; he's in Croatia, so there won't be a lot of fiddly thumbnails for videos. Which I actually seen that some viewership on some shows went down because of no thumbnails. But hey, he's gonna make them when he comes back. Also, just remember one more movie, Red Faction Origins. It was an adaptation of Red Faction. It was meant to be like an intermediary movie between Red Faction Guerrilla and Red Faction Armageddon. It wasn't dreadful. It was kind of, but it wasn't dreadful.
Literally never heard of it.
Yeah, it was just a TV movie. Well, we're gonna see you again one day soon. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.